Tantor Audio, a division of recorded books, presents The Cabaret of Plants, 40,000 Years of Plant Life and the Human Imagination, by Richard Mabey, narrated by Ralph Lister. The force that through the green fuse drives the flower, drives my green age. Dylan Thomas. Introduction. The Vegetable Plot. Just before he died in 1888, Edward Lear sketched the last of the surreal additions to evolution's menagerie that he'd begun with the bong tree in The Owl and the Pussycat nearly 20 years before. His nonsense botany is a series of impish cartoons of preposterous floral inventions. It includes a strawberry bush bearing puddings instead of fruit, the parrot-flowered Cockatuku superba, and the unforgettable Menipiplia upside-downia, a kind of Solomon's seal with minute humans suspended like flowers along the bowed stalk. Lear was a lifelong sufferer from epilepsy and depressive episodes, which he nicknamed the Morbids, as if they were a tribe of gloomy rodents, and the obsessive fun he had with words and forms may have been a way of exercising his melancholy. But I suspect there is more to his final creation. Lear was an astute botanist, as well as a brilliant humorist. He had travelled and painted across the old world, especially in the Mediterranean, and had seen firsthand many of its bizarre plants, including the carrion-stinking dragonarum, which he described as brutal, filthy, yet picturesque. And I think his nonsense flora can be seen as a kind of celebratory cabaret, an affectionate satire on the astonishing revelations of 19th century botany. 30 years previously, Europeans had their first news on the welwitschia, a Namibian desert plant whose single pair of leaves can live for 2,000 years, grow to immense size, but remain in the permanently infantilized state of a seedling. 10 years later, Charles Darwin had revealed the barely credible devices orchids use to conscript insect pollinators, including the launching of pollen-laden missiles. In a world of such remarkable organisms, why shouldn't there be a fly orchid dangling real flies like Lear's Bluebottlia bustilentia? As for his soft sluggia glutinosa, it could well be the filthy dragonarum reimagined as one of the plant-animal cooperatives being unmasked by explorers in the tropics. Lear's bionic vegetables were botany's reductio ad absurdum, the last tarantellas of a century in which plants had been just about the most interesting things on the planet. It wasn't a fascination confined to the scientific elite. The general public had been agog, astounded by one botanical revelation after another. In America, the discoveries of the ancient sequoias of California in the 1850s drew tens of thousands of pilgrims, who saw in these giant veterans proof of their country's manifest destiny as an unsullied Eden. There were throngs of rubberneckers and partygoers too. 19th century botany was far from sober-sided. Similar numbers flocked to Kew Gardens in West London, where one of the star attractions was an Amazonian water lily whose leaves were so brilliantly engineered that their design became the model for the greatest glass building of the 19th century. What these moments of excited attention shared was not so much a simple pleasure in floral beauty, or the promise of new sources of imperial revenue, though these were there too, but a sense of real wonder that units of non-conscious green tissue could have such strange existences and unquantifiable powers. Plants, defined by their immobility, had evolved extraordinary lifeways by way of compensation. The power to regenerate after most of their body had been eaten. The ability to have sex by proxy. The possession of more than 20 senses whose delicacy far exceeded any of our own. They made you think. Yet if respect for them as complex and adventurous organisms reached its zenith in the late 19th century, it neither began nor ended there. People had been enthralled by, and sometimes fearful, of the vegetable world's alternative solutions to living for thousands of years. They contrived myths to explain why trees could outlive civilizations, invented hybrid creatures, chimera, as models for plants they were unable to understand, and which seemed to intuit symbioses discovered centuries later. Ironically, the same scientific revolution that engaged the public imagination.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?